39 days to melee begins in just a few days, and it looks like we're right on track, friends. This is the event that the remote viewers saw where there are dogfights in our skies between UFOs and fighter jets. Now, that seems wild and completely unrealistic until you turn on the news. And we just had more of these drone incursions over our most sensitive and highly restricted airspace in the world. At all of these US military bases across the globe, we are having daily, around the clock, drone incursions. And when they say drone, these things have been reported 20 to 30 feet wide. They are impervious to any of our anti-drone measures. We cannot identify what they are. They flee and evade our fighter jets, and they are up there for many, many, many hours, coming back day after day after day. In fact, at Langley a few months ago in America, we had 17 days in a row of these swarms of drones that we couldn't do anything about. 17 days. We knew they were coming every day. We still couldn't identify them or stop them. What is going on, guys? This doesn't make any sense. And now to make it even weirder, over in Europe, this is happening daily at some of our most sensitive bases. In fact, one of those bases in particular houses our nuclear weapons and our long-range bombers. Now that's very concerning because that's the base that seems to be at the focus right now of this activity. In fact, the strangest thing I've ever heard of happened today. They put out a notice to airmen, told all the airmen, all the pilots leaving that Air Force base to turn their lights off when they fly. I've never heard of anything like that. It makes me think the reason they're doing that is because these drones, these UAPs, UFOs, have lights on them. And these lights seem to be communicating something. And if we put up our jets and our jets don't have lights, then we can immediately identify anything that's not us, okay? That means that now we're starting to take action. They're starting to take this more seriously. They had this Pentagon press conference the other day that just, more questions than answers because the things they were saying didn't make any sense. They're baffled. They're stumped. They don't know what to do. They can't stop or identify these things. It's happening all over the world at places where this shouldn't be happening. Now, the UK military just said they're going to start deploying troops to help with this. Okay, so we're seeing this ramping up of military activity and this awareness of these UAP that are in the sky around these bases, and they're starting to engage them. Now, what does this have to do with 39 days to melee? Well, I won't go into super detail because it's kind of complex. I did a whole video elaborating, deep diving on this, but there's a dude named Cliff High. He's a badass, and he has this predictive web bot software that can basically predict future events based on things happening on the internet. And it has had some amazing predictions in the past. He, in 2009, had this, it's called a temporal marker. He can basically find these iconic events that happen. And the iconic event that they saw in 2009 was going to be far in the future. And it was going to be this discussion, this interview between Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. And at the time, in 2009, everyone's like, why would anyone care that the Fear Factor guy and the Apprentice guy are talking, right? Well, fast forward to 2024, and it's the biggest interview in the history of the world, okay? So it was a big deal. It's a temporal marker. So there's this group run by Dick Allgaier, and it's called the Future Forecasting Group. And it's a group of elite-level remote viewers. And they're really good. They do really good work. So Cliff High commissioned them and said, okay, I have this temporal marker. It's iconic. It's a big deal. It's making a huge ripple in space-time. It is the interview between Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. So as soon as they announced that, like, he had this information back in 2009, but as soon as we got to this 2024 and he saw that that was actually happening, it was announced, he was like, oh my God, this is that data. So something is going to happen. So he commissioned the Future Forecasting Group, and they remote viewed any event that's tied to that temporal marker. And they all got the same data back. It was really crazy. They got very clear data of multiple remote viewers, got data of a sky full of UFOs with fighter jets engaging, and the word they kept getting was melee, some sort of a chaotic interaction between UFOs and fighter jets, okay? So the word melee, interesting enough, literally means it's a military term that means a breakdown of military operations. So that's when things get chaotic. Like when you're in a military operation, you go in with a plan and then you get punched in the face and then your plan goes out the window. It breaks down into a melee. So, okay, at the time, he's like, all right, we have Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But then that came to be the significant thing. Then he has all of these remote viewers saying, okay, we see UFOs and jets dogfighting in the sky. And then he's like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's very highly unlikely, right? Now what do we see? This is weird, guys. We're seeing all over the news these drones that are repeatedly going into the restricted airspace over our most highly sensitive bases around the world. And now we're starting to take action. We're starting to put up fighter jets. We are starting to turn off our lights and operate in ways that we don't normally operate. Okay. So what happens when one of these jets, engages one of these UFOs, right? And you can call them UFOs because UFO means unidentified flying object. These are flying objects that we can't identify, okay? So that's not being, that's not being exaggerative. These are UFOs, okay? These are UAPs. These are unidentified. To call them drones is insane because drones don't operate like this. They don't fly for days at a time. They don't evade F-16s, they're not 20 feet wide. Like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know what these are, but they're not conventional drones for sure. And these aren't hobbyists just flying around for fun all over the world simultaneously, day after day after day, okay? Something is going on. Oh, something big's over there. So I'm gonna go this way. Anyways, something's going on and it's very fishy. Now, this coincides perfectly with the 39 days to melee that Cliff High talks about, because I don't know the exact dates, but I think the Joe Rogan interview was like October 25th, I think. So 39 days, I don't know exactly when that would be, but it would be like the beginning of December, okay? So somebody drop a comment if you know the exact date. And Cliff High said, don't get hung up on the exact date because, he's like, that's just the number that kept coming up in their data, but it doesn't mean exactly. But when you think about it, because when he first laid all this out, he was like, I don't know what any of this means. He's like, all this sounds crazy and it's very highly unlikely. But now it's not highly unlikely. Now it's very likely that we're going to engage one of these things. And what happens if we engage it and say we shoot at it and it doesn't go down? Okay, that's going to really freak people out. What if we shoot at it and it shoots back? What if something happens that creates this chaotic dogfight in the sky? So, different little caveat here. I've been doing videos lately talking about how so many people around the world are having the same dreams and visions of looking up and seeing a sky full of UFOs, okay? And it made me think, what are the odds of everyone in the world like having some sort of precognitive dream of them seeing UFOs, right? Like, that would be a lot of UFOs if everyone in the world is seeing them. But what if it's a televised event? What if this precognitive dream everyone's having, and I've had so many people, I did a video on this and I just had this outpouring of people telling me, oh my God, I've had the same dream. I've had dreams where I see a sky full of UFOs. And they say it like that, not a UFO, a sky full of UFOs. Now imagine there's some sort of a dogfight at one of these bases where we're engaging these objects and it turns into this melee and it turns into this dogfight. And since there's media covering all this, it will be on the news. And then people all over the world via Facebook and Twitter and the news and everything are going to see it. So is that what people have been having dreams of? Are these precognitive dreams, not of them going outside and looking up and seeing UFOs, but everyone seeing the same broadcast of jets engaging with these UFO? Is that what people are dreaming about? Can that explain all these things? The Cliff High prediction, the future forecasting remote viewing group of everyone seeing this melee in the sky, this dogfight of UFOs and jets. Also, these drone incursions, and all these precognitive dreams that everyone's having. Is this all coming to a head right now? We're days away from this 39 days to melee prediction point in time. And what seemed like a wild conspiracy theory at the time and a very just irrational, thing to think about now looks probable. I mean, it's not a stretch of the imagination to think we're going to engage one of these things now. We're literally sitting in a notice to airmen to turn your lights off when you're leaving an Air Force base. They're doing that to single out these craft. They're going to engage these craft. And who knows what happens next. If you listen to Cliff High and the future forecasting group with their remote viewings, what happens next is a dogfight that ushers us into what he calls sci-fi world, where everything changes, where we understand that there's an exotic technology out there that we don't know about, that we can't explain. We understand that maybe we're not the alpha. We understand that there's something bigger than us. We understand that we've been lied to. We understand that we're going into an era where all rules are off. Like, the things we thought we knew, we no longer know. We can't count on that anymore. It's a completely new day and age, uncharted territory. That's what sci-fi world is. Everything changes. Is that what's about to happen? I don't know. This is one of those times I hope I and Cliff are wrong. But let me know what you think. Have a beautiful day. Peace.